Pumphouse Ray. When my family first brought this small holding 8 years ago, one of the first things that we noticed was this old shed and this well. So when I was asked to do this archaeology project, I decided to investigate the shed, the well, and the whole water supply for the area. One of the first things I did for my project was look at old maps, and in one from the late 1800s, I found this well marked. As for the shed, when we first came here, there was a lot of old pipes inside, and the locals told us that it used to be a pumping station. And I can tell how old it is because of the date on the door frame, which says 1938. Here I am at the back of the shed. When I tried to find out more information about what this pump house was used for, I interviewed the local residents, and 2 of them said that when they were children in the 60s, there used to be a pipe coming out of the back of the shed onto the lane for people to collect water from. And I think that's a pipe there, cut off. And this is one of the old pipes that used to take water from the well to the pumping station. Here inside the pumping station, I found this pipe which took water to the other side of the wall, which I showed you earlier. Roger, one of the local residents, remembers hearing a petrol-driven pump inside here when he went past as a boy. Here I am on the lane where the water would have come out, but I can't see the concrete slab which I've been told used to be there for people to collect their water. I've been told by one local resident that people used to come far and wide to collect this water because they thought it was so good. And if we just walk through this gate, there's 2 terrace houses up on the hill there. And I've been told that they used to have to come all the way down the hill to collect all their water. Here I am in the woods on the hill, and our well house is just down there. Martin showed us these tanks, and this one here has got a steel ladder there, and people must have used that for inspecting the tank. This one here is made out of bricks, and I can tell the made of bricks by this brick here which says Whitfield Gloucester. I wonder if I can Google that at home. There's a whole series of tanks coming along here, and this one up here, I can measure it with this stick because the lid's broken off a bit. Okay, I've hit the bottom. So that's about 5 foot of water and a few feet above for storing water. There's a few other tanks coming along here as well. There's this one here. This one here's got a metal ring. They would have needed a lot of men to pull the lid up there. And there's a couple there just up here. This one here is like the other one because it's got a metal ring there. And this last one is very interesting because you can see what's happening inside each of the tanks. The spring water comes into this tank here through that pipe there under the water level. And the spring must be quite high today because the water's spilling in from the ground. But I wouldn't really like to drink that water because they've got this gravel filtration system down there. And once the water's gone through that, there's a little pipe down there for taking the water to the other tanks along here. It must have been a lot of hard work to make all these tanks, but it was definitely worth it because people could get water to their homes then. I went on the internet to try to find more about the Whitfield Gloucester brick that we found up in the woods by the tanks. And I printed off this sheet, and it says that Whitfield Gloucester started up a quarry on Robinswood Hill, and that Whitfield Brick and Tile Works started a quarry on the hill in the early 1890s. Clay from the quarry was used to produce bricks. Production eventually ceased in 1940s when competition from larger brickworks made it uneconomical to continue. We know that the date on the doorframe of the Pumphouse says 1938, so it is quite possible that the tanks were at the same time as the Pumphouse. This means that the whole spring system could have been going for at least 30 years or more. We tried to find out when Mains was connected to the area. We know that down here in the village of Bishop's Norton, Mains was connected in about 1947. We asked local residents up here of when the Mains was connected up here, and they can remember the spring and pump house being used into the 1960s and maybe even the 1970s, but they can't really remember. We also contacted Severn Trent, but they have no record of when Mains was connected to the lane. The tanks that I showed you earlier are over there in the woods behind the horses, and our pumping station is just down there. Here on a map of the area, our pumping station and well are just about there, marked in red, and the River Severn is just behind it. The tanks are roughly there up in the woods and supplied water to Hill Farm and these farm cottages along here. Martin told us that his house still has a receiving tank in his back garden. And here are the terrace houses, and people would have walked down there to collect their water. The spring also would have supplied water to Court Farm and Norton Court, but I'm not quite sure whether it came directly from the tanks or from the tanks in our pumping station. Perhaps the pumping station was a backup for when the springs ran dry. We had a visit from Kath Henley, an environmental health officer from Tewkesbury Borough Council, and she came to test the water. And she was very interested in why they stopped using the spring water and went over to Mains. And she came up with two possible explanations. The first one was that the water might not have been good enough quality. And the second one was as people got dishwashers and washing machines, there was not enough water. She was also interested in whether the water from the tanks came down through pipes or naturally through the hill. There's a lot of orange depositings near the spring, and that could either mean that there's iron in the hill or the pipes were made out of iron. I've learnt a lot from doing this project. I've learnt that our pump house and concrete water tanks are part of a much larger spring water system to supply water to the neighbouring farms and cottages, and that it was going for at least 30 years. Although the pump house and the tanks were built in around about 1938, there's been a well on that site for quite a long time, from the late 1800s. I wonder if, as it's by the roadside, whether people used to stop to collect water. While I was doing this project, the road was closed, and our neighbour Martin said that they had found the original Roman cobblestone road 4 feet under the ground. I wonder if Roman soldiers used to march along this road, and whether they used to stop by the well to collect water.